In previous videos, we've talked about how to use lane theory to set up your offense. Now we're going to talk about your defensive behaviors as you occupy the 5 lanes in front of an opponent. So hopefully you can use that information to have success when you fight. So helping us with today's lesson is going to be my former student and one of my good friends from down in Boston, Alex.
How you doing?
Beginning with the closed lane. When my head's in the closed lane at range, the only punch I have to worry about is the jab. As I get nearer to my opponent, the only punch I have to worry about is the right hook. This is a fascinating moment to talk about using lane theory to our advantage. If I'm circling towards my opponent's closed side and I'm at range, the only punch I ever have to defend is going to be the jab. It makes defense secondary and allows you to hunt for good positions and opportunities while you do so. Our next position is the jab lane. When I'm in the jab lane at range, I only have to worry about the jab and the cross. This means I can get under these shots, around these shots, or obstruct these shots. As I get nearer, this becomes more hazardous because my opponent is able to pincer me in between his lead uppercut and his rear hook. I can limit their ability to do this, however, by changing head slots. Instead of being in the high jab lane where I'm vulnerable to the uppercut and the hook, I can be in the low jab lane where any uppercut would have a big windup and the hook is the only attack that is now a threat. Expanding on this is a good opportunity to talk about levels of understanding with lane theory. Initially, you learn lane theory to know how to set up your own offense. Then, in the next level of understanding, you're going to be able to wield lane theory to know what you're vulnerable to from different positions, like we're talking about in this video. The next level up from here is baiting shots so that you can counter them. And the final level is tricking your opponent into throwing a bad punch from a bad position. We talked about this in our last video. Teddy Atlas says the most important punch is the one you don't throw, because punches are opportunities for you to counter and be countered. So if you can bait a bad punch from an opponent, then you can wield that as an opportunity to shift the momentum around and go on the attack. When my head is in the center line at range, this is just like being in the jab lane. I need to worry about the 1 and the 2, which means I can get around these shots, I can get under these shots, and I can obstruct these shots. This is a risky position, and I want to make sure that when I'm countering here, because of how quickly my opponent can fire off with both hands, that I want to depend on my simultaneous counters. I want to hit them as they try to hit me, not in the following beat. Otherwise, I'm going to get dribbled between their left and their right hands. I talk a lot about proactive defense, but when I'm near and on the center line, this is one of the few situations in boxing where I am truly being reactive. If I've settled into that high guard as I should, ideally these reactions are small, but I do need to be able to see the punches that my opponent is throwing because I can get pincered between both of their hands just like at range. My old coach Bob Miller used to say, you are always either getting in, getting out, or getting off. You're never just hanging out in the middle distance with no purpose or stuck on defense. That's too risky. When I'm in the cross lane, this is the riskiest and most threatening position to be in, because at distance, I'm stuck between the cross and the lead hook, and in close, I'm stuck between the uppercut and the lead hook. This is a challenging position, not only because I'm stuck between those 2 punches, but also because my liver is there to be hit with a 3. It's really important that when I go through the cross lane, I am attacking to keep that person occupied, or I am moving through or exiting. As we talked about with the center line, you're getting in, getting out, or getting off. The cross lane is the riskiest place to be, and it's the place that I get hit the most, and you're stuck getting hit with hard, powerful shots. Do not overstay your welcome. The open lane, my only offensive option is my 3, which means the only thing I have to worry about defensively is my 3. Now, it's important to take advantage of this quickly and defend quickly because of our ability to pivot on our lead foot. Hanging out in the open lane only exists briefly. As we talked about in our previous video with offense, There are punches that break lane theory, but ideally your opponent can't throw them quickly. They'll have a tell, they'll have to wind them up, and they won't be structured well. They're not going to land with good timing on the hips, with good support of the elbow, or with the appropriate part of the hand. Now, some people are hard punchers. They can long hit and they can short hit. These are the assessments and adjustments you're going to have to make in a fight to modify this skeleton and flesh it out into a body that can get the job done. A good grasp of lane theory allows you to get ahead of the punches you're vulnerable to from different positions when you're in an exchange with an opponent. This allows you to defend proactively the statistically most likely thing that's coming your way, and it allows you to focus on broader, bigger tactics and strategies instead of getting lost reacting in the chaos of a fight. Hopefully you guys can drill these out with a partner, start understanding these positions, think about them when you're shadowboxing and using the bag, and you can wield them as a tool that will make you much, much, much more successful when you fight.